we are going to do page 59, 4 through 21 all, so I shortened it a little bit. 4 through 21 all, starting on number 4. Don't overthink this too much. It's asking what is the middle number between 2 and 4?
3.
It's 3, right? The process then mathematically, like we've talked about, like we've seen in our notes, is you add the two numbers together and divide them by 2. That will give us the middle.
Why don't we do the work?
You don't. I'm just showing you for it.
So like on tests we have to do the work?
Not necessarily.
Let's go.
Not necessarily. Again, the numbers are 2 and 4, and I'm asking what's the middle number between 2 and 4. I don't want you to overthink that, okay? Now, the process is important when you're dealing with bigger numbers, or maybe negatives can be a little bit confusing. So the work is important on some. Negative 9 and 6, you might be able to think of that, think of what the middle is going to be, but after a little bit of thought, just do the math. It's not that difficult, right? You just add them together, and then you divide by 2. So negative 9 plus 6, careful with your negatives, negative 9 plus 6 gives me negative 3. And then when I divide by 2, what's that give me? Negative 1.5. There you go. 6. Same idea, right? Why don't you guys try it on your own before I jump in? You'll probably go ahead and do 7 also. So again, these are numbers on a number line. Just doing the midpoint formula. Add them up, divide by 2. In this problem, 2 plus negative 5. I just want to the same. Yeah, it just happens to be the same. Negative 3 over 2 gets you that negative 1.5. Number 7, same idea. Watch your negatives. We have a negative 8 and a negative 12. When I add them together, I get a bigger negative. When you add debts together, you get a bigger debt. So that's a negative 20. Negative 20 over 2 simplifies down, divides out to be a negative 10. Any questions, guys? All right. Number 8, 9, and 10 then are on a coordinate plane. This is what we did on the Kahoot today. I'll explain it. So you have your X and Y. You have 2 of them. Your X's are 0 and 8. You're going to add them together, divide by 2 to find the X coordinate of your midpoint. You have your Y's, 0 and 4. You're going to add them together, divide by 2 to find your midpoint. What's the X coordinate of the midpoint on number 8? What's the X coordinate?
4.
Which one is it? 4. Make sure you answer the question. So the answer to the question was going to be a coordinate. The coordinate would be 4, 2. The 4 I get from 8 divided by 2?
4.
Right there, the 4 I get from 8 divided by 2. The 2 I get from 4 divided by 2. All right, number 9, same idea. I'm going to take the X's. The X's are negative 1 and 7. Why don't you guys try that on your own? Add up the X's and divide by 2. Add up the Y's and divide by 2. Try again. 3 what?
3-1.
3, 1.
That's light work, baby.
Light work.
Exactly.
All right, number 10. Why don't you try number 10? Uh-oh, we're going to get a negative? Or no, we're going to get a decimal. It's all right. When you add up the x's, 13 and negative 6. 13 and negative 6 gives you what? 7. So again, if we were going to split 7 down the middle, right, you would, like your friend would get 3, I would get 3, and there'd be 1 left over, and we got to split that one in half, so it'd be 3.5. So it'd be 3.5 here for the x-coordinate. For the y-coordinate, 8 and a negative 6 gives you 1. 8 and a negative 6 gives you 2. Divided by 2 is 1, I should say. All right, number 11. Again, the formula is there. The setup is there. My analogy was if you know what each of us get, so if we each got 5 candy bars, but I contributed 0, how much did you contribute?
5.
We each got 5, right?
10.
We each got 5. I contributed 0. So how much did you contribute?
5.
10. Yeah, and then, so the process is you can set up this equation. Right here's your midpoint. Right there's the other endpoint. And you have to find the endpoint S. So it gives you the midpoint. It gives you T, which is one of the endpoints, and you have to find the other endpoint S. So you set up the equation. The x coordinate of the midpoint equals what you get when you add the x's together and divide by 2. I don't know what one of the x's is. I do know the other one's 0. And I'll divide that by 2. Like I said earlier, if the middle is 5, meaning there's 5 on both sides, 5 units on both sides, and I contribute 0, that means you must have contributed 10. So again, the pattern, as we go, you'll see the pattern is you double the midpoint coordinate, and subtract over the other endpoint coordinate. All right, here we go. So that's the setup to find the x-coordinate for point S. The setup for the y-coordinate would be that negative 8 equals y plus 4 all over 2. The negative 8 comes from the midpoint. The 4 comes from the endpoint. I just have to do the math here. In this situation, I just have to double both sides. That will get rid of that divided by 2 and leave me with a 5 times 2, which is 10. Again, over here, I would double both sides. Kind of hard to see there, but that's double both sides. We'll get rid of that 2. That will turn into a negative 16. And then just rewrite the top. Negative 16 equals y plus 4. And I'll subtract over 4 to get y equals negative 20. So you have your x, you have your y. Make sure you answer the question. It is a coordinate point.
It all makes sense to me.
All right, I'm dropping down to 12, 13, 14, and 15. Using the same midpoint, using that same midpoint, here are the endpoints. So again with the analogy, if each of us get 5 candy bars, I contributed 5. How much did you contribute?
0.
You're forgetting to double this. Right? If we each get 5, that means there's 10 total. Right? So if we each get 5, 5's right in the middle. I contributed 5 of them. How many did you contribute? 5. Because there's 10 total. So the process is double the midpoint, subtract the endpoint. Here's the setup. If I was to double this, it would be 10 equals x plus 5. And when you subtract over 5, you get x equal 5. Go ahead and set up the y's too. The negative 8 comes from the midpoint, the y coordinate of the midpoint. The minus 15 comes from the y coordinate of the endpoint. To get rid of that divided by 2, I just have to multiply by 2 both sides. That will get rid of it. Rewrite the top. Subtract over 5 like I said earlier. X would equal 5. Over here, double both sides. Double both sides. That will turn that into a negative 16. Bring down the top. Add over 15. Negative 16 plus 15 gives me a negative 1. You have your x. You have your y. Rewrite it as a coordinate point. Alright, you guys want to try number 13? Try the setup. Struggle a little bit, that's okay. You'll learn from your struggles. You'll start to learn what you don't understand. Again, the concept is the middle is 5, which means it's 5 units on each side. So each of us gets 5. Each of the two people get 5. I contributed 10. So how much did you contribute? It should be 0, right? Double the middle. Subtract the endpoint will give you the other endpoint. So the process is here. If I double both sides, I'll get 10 on the left side. Bring down the top and be x plus 10. Subtract 10, x would equal 0. Y, let's see, are you going to get, let's just set it up. You got negative 8 equals y plus 18. You realize by now all these are going to be the same, right? You're going to end up with 10 because you got to double it. You're going to end up with negative 16 because you got to double it. You're going to end up with 10 because you got to double it. You're going to end up with, again, same thing, negative 16 because you got to double it. That gets rid of that divided by 2. So I got negative 16 equals y plus 18. Subtract over that 18. What do you get? Negative 34. So x is 0. Y is negative 34. There's your coordinate point in blue. Again, try 14 before I jump in. Challenge yourself. Struggle a little bit. Grind a little bit. I think kids might say that nowadays. Grind. And the pattern, it works every time. If you double the midpoint and subtract the endpoint, will get you the other endpoint, which is what we're looking for here. Will work every time. Of course, the process is, in this case, the 5 comes from that midpoint right there. The x plus the negative 2 comes from the formula. Multiply both sides by 2. You'll be left with an x minus 2. Add over 2. Get x equals 12. Hopefully by now it's starting to seem a little redundant. Kind of the idea. What'd you get for y, Hayden? Good, yeah, negative 24. Once you do the math, you'll find that y is negative 24, and your coordinate points are 12 and negative 24. Number 15, double the midpoint, subtract the endpoint. When you double the midpoint, what do you get? When you subtract the endpoint, what do you get? 10 minus 4.5.
5.5.
You got it, 5.5. And I'll go ahead and show the setup. You're going to double the midpoint, subtract the endpoint to get your x equal 5.5. Same with the y. You know you're going to end up with a 16, we got to double it. Negative 16, you got to double it. Then we just have to subtract a negative 2.5, which is a negative 13.5. Good job. 16 through 21 are a lot like the ones we did up top there. 7, 8, 9, 10. So why don't you guys do those on your own? We got 10 minutes in here. All right, thanks guys.